This is a reading from the Notebooks by Marie Torta, 1943, August 12th. Jesus says, when human nature is able to remember its origin so much that it manages to live in the supernatural realm, it becomes loftier than angelical nature, and is a source of admiration for the angels. When does this occur? When a creature lives engulfed in my will, entirely abandoned to me, not living, not loving, and not acting, except for me and with me. It then elevates its flesh to a degree not granted to the angels, who do not experience the anxieties of the flesh, and do not have the merit of taming them. When, moreover, the creature crucifies itself out of love for the crucified Master, it then becomes a source of admiration for the angelic hosts, that cannot suffer out of love for me, and crucify themselves like Jesus, Redeemer of the world, and Son of the Eternal. Around my cross, as before, around my cradle, were multitudes of adoring angels, for cradle and cross were the Alpha and Omega of my mission as Redeemer. But around the little crucified ones, too, immolating themselves silently for the law of perfect love, are hosts of angelic spirits, for they see me in you that die for me. Let me act, then, act to the utmost. In a short while I shall be your father and mother. Footnote: the writer, an only child, lost her mother on October the 4th of the same year, 1943. Her father had died on June the 30th, 1935. In addition to being your brother and spouse, you will have nothing but me in a short while. Come, the blow is hard, but be informed of it and be generous. Let me act. I do nothing which does not have the sign of love. Be like a newborn lamb in my hands, as a good shepherd. If your shepherd has you eat this bitter grass, even this, it is because he wants to give you a more beautiful place in his heart. And don't be afraid. I shall help you. I always help you. You see this. I need your pain. Absolute, complete, deep pain. You don't know how much it will be worth in my hands. When you find out, you'll say that I have multiplied the value of your suffering 1,000-fold, and you'll thank me for it. Thank me for it from now on, though, with trust and love. In the chorus of the voices rising from the earth to heaven, the voices which give thanks are lacking. It is a silent note, and that's quite bad. It is a great demerit for Adam's lineage, which, supremely loved and benefited by the triune God, is unable to give thanks. But if the illiterates in love will be forgiven for this, it is not granted to those whom love itself instructs not to do so. When a little child makes a mistake, or a poor ignorant person does so, he is pitied. It is not so when an adult or educated person makes the same mistake. You are educated by the Master, and must not fail to observe the Master's teaching. I have raised you with my love as a child is raised with milk. Be faithful to love in every single thing. In the evening, Jesus says, Soul of mine, listen to the parable of the pearl. A grain of sand moved by the waves of the sea is swallowed by the valves of a mollusc. A rough, common pebble, a minuscule fragment of rock, a chip of pumice, all these things that don't warrant a look from man. That grain of sand swallowed like this certainly misses at first the boundless prairies of the sea, where it freely rolled under a spur of the currents and saw so many beautiful things created by my Father. But after some time, around the gray, rough grain, there forms a white film, increasingly lovely, solid, and even, and the pebble no longer misses its prior wild freedom, but blesses the moment when it was engulfed by a will superior to its intention, amid the valves of that mollusc. If the grain could speak, it would say, Blessed be that moment when I lost freedom. Blessed be the power which took away my freedom and made me poor and ugly into a precious marguerite. The soul is a pebble, rough by nature. It bears the sign of divine creation, but it has come down so low, rolling in descent, that it has become increasingly coarse and gray. Grace, like a heavenly current, drives it through the boundless spaces of the universe towards the heart of God, which remains open to receive his creatures. Your God remains with an open heart, desiring you, poor creatures. But you often resist the currents of grace and the invitation of God, who wishes to enclose you in his heart. You think you are happier, freer, and more masters of yourselves by remaining outside. No, my poor children. Happiness, freedom, and mastery are within the heart of God. Outside there is the deceit of the flesh, the deceit of the world, and the deceit of Satan. You think you are free, but you are bound like slave to the galleys. You think you are happy, but cares, these alone, are indeed unhappiness. And then there is all the rest. You think you are masters, but you are the servants of everyone, servants of yourselves, in your lower part, and no joy comes to you of it, even if you labor to obtain joy for yourselves. I give joy, for I give peace, for I give continence, for I give resignation, patience, every virtue. Blessed are those souls who do not oppose too stiffly the grace driving them towards me. Most blessed are those who not only let themselves be carried to me, but come to me with the impatience of the desire to be swallowed up in my heart. It does not reject anyone, no matter how base and coarse he is. It receives all, and the more wretched you are, but at the same time convinced that I can make you beautiful, the more I work your baseness, clothing it in a new, precious, pure robe. My merits and my love work the metamorphosis. You enter as creatures, and come out into the light of God's day as most precious pearls. The soul sometimes misses its former freedom, especially at the early stage, for my work is severe, though clothed in love. But the more willing the soul is, the more quickly it comprehends. The more the soul gives up all desire for false freedom and prefers the royal slavery of love, the more quickly it tastes the blessedness of its imprisonment in me, and accelerates the sanctifying prodigy of love. The world loses all attraction for that happy soul, living enclosed in me like a pearl in a jewel case. All the riches of the earth, all the ephemeral suns, all deceitful joys and forms of pseudo-freedom lose light and articulation, and there remains only the increasingly vast and profound will of our mutual love, of our wanting to be for one another, and in one another, and belonging to one another. Oh, this beatitude of beatitudes, to live with me who knows how to love, is too little known. For if Peter exclaimed on Tabor just before he saw me transfigured, Lord, it is good for us to remain here, what should the soul that is itself transfigured, becoming a molecule of my divine heart, say? But consider, Maria, whoever lives in me becomes part of me. Footnote, in the sense explained in the dictations of August 17th, October the 1st, October the 7th, and October the 10th. Do you understand? Of me, Jesus, Son of true God, wisdom of the Father, Redeemer of the world, eternal Judge and King of the future age, eternal King, the soul living immersed in my heart becomes all of this, an integral, living part of the heart of a God. It will live eternally, like God, in the light, peace, and glory of my divinity.